Our fondest and deepest apologies to the nation of Canada for this episode.
I'm not your friend, buddy!
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and we are breaking down the Season 2 finale of Fallout. Now, we did miss last week, so we are going to go through all the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Episode 7 and in Episode 8. So, Episode 7 is the Steph episode. It opens with her and her mom trying to cross the Canadian border. This sign tells us that they are running away from the Uranium City internment camp. Uranium City is an actual city in northern Saskatchewan, Canada. Now, as a reminder, in the Fallout universe, Canada was annexed by the USA during the Sino-American War, and there have been constant exploitation of their resources despite their protests and sabotage. This political change caused them to create internment camps for detained Canadian citizens, and they now have monikers like Little America or the Big 51. The women are called hosers by a Marine, which is Canadian slang for referring to a person as dumb or uncouth. Running away from Uranium City feels like a callback to Episode 6 when Reg thought he was singing Uranium Fever. It also fits because Steph and her mom are running through snowfall similar to a nuclear winter, which was featured prominently in Episode 2 of this season.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
Now, when Steph wakes up from this nightmare, she turns over and we see her creepy eye socket. This is a clever way of insinuating that she sleeps with one eye open, which we'll get back to later. When she gets up, we see Chet has a sleeping mask on, implying that he's blind to the truth. However, we know that later in the episode, he wisens up to what's going on. As Steph brushes her teeth, she recalls her mother's death. She tells Steph to
keep your head above that water any way you can.
And
cling to the highest branch you can find.
So Steph is acting on pure survival instinct. We'll see in flashbacks later that the flood and water is the coming nuclear war, and to Steph, the highest branch is Vault Tech. Now, during this flashback, Steph kills somebody for their can of which is a canned food item from the Fallout games. Then her mom says,
don't think of them as human beings. Think of them as Americans.
Now this explains why Steph is so off-putting. She literally hates everyone around her in the vaults and in America. Because of their atrocities, she doesn't see Americans as humane. This is also sad for Lucy. We saw in the first episode of this show that Steph was one of Lucy's best friends. I wonder if they were actually friends or if Steph saw her as a means of getting closer to Hank. It seems like everyone who was close to Lucy in the vaults had some kind of ulterior motive. Her dad, Steph, Betty, and even Chet in a weird cousin kind of way. During the Fallout title card, the words are slowly being soaked in red. It looks like blood washing over pure snow, but it also represents the colors of the Canadian flag. The intro is also underscored by the Canadian national anthem. Checking back in with Lucy and Hank, the song playing is When You're Smiling by Nat King Cole. The song fits the hive mind of workers who are forced to smile and be happy. Lucy still has reservations about Hank's plan, to which he responds with,
perfect is the enemy of good, Lucy.
So he believes that his plan is good, but not the best, which is really pretty twisted because his plan is far from good. In Hank's eyes, though, it's better than the surface. Lucy asks how the automated man works, and Hank explains that he can control the level of amnesia that people have. Then the mainframe downstairs implants new, happier thoughts into their heads. Hank and Lucy take the golf cart to the basement, and we get this cute scene. Now, Lucy doesn't know what a golf cart is since they were pre-war vehicles, so Hank takes this opportunity to teach his daughter how to drive. Golf carts are a symbol of status and wealth that he has attached himself to. His taste for golf carts illustrates his desire to seem corporate, in control, and to have refined tastes. This scene perfectly encapsulates Fallout's demented but endearing nature. Hank longs to teach his daughter these lessons, but he commits atrocities to create these opportunities. He says,
I really wish we'd have a normal life, Chippon.
To which Lucy replies,
we did have one, Dad. You wrecked it.
So Hank's goal is to achieve normalcy, but he's achieving it in a cruel and unusual way. He hates war and violence, but fixes that problem by thinking like Vault Tech, a company who wanted war and violence for corporate gain. From Hank's point of view, he still remembers life before the bombs. He knows what the old world was like and believes that that was the normal he was looking for. Hank uses a masterful manipulation tactic by placing the Brute Legionnaire outside the mainframe door. His sunny disposition makes Lucy second guess her decision. Now, this is another difficult moral choice, which is one of the foundations of Fallout quests. Hey, by the way, boss, I need 2 hours off on February 14th.
What for? Are you taking a nap?
No, even better. My wife and I are going on a sunset cruise.
Oh, that sounds cool. How'd you find that?
Oh man, usually Valentine's Day is like the most stressful holiday. I never know how much to spend, what to buy, what size to buy, and then there's all of this social pressure. So this year, I decided to give a story instead of stuff with Tingly. They're the sponsor of this video. Tingly is an experience gift voucher that they send you in this premium gift box. box. You and your partner can choose from more than 150,000 experiences from across the USA and worldwide. Everything from day spas to hot air balloon rides, gourmet dinners, walking tours, pub crawls. It is a way to give the gift of quality time, and we had so many options close to where we live. First, you choose a gift box. Now, I picked Valentine's Day, but there are many others for other occasions. Then they deliver the gift or an e-voucher if you're shopping at the last minute. And by the way, in case you're watching this video on Valentine's Day, this is a perfect last minute gift. And then you redeem the voucher code on the site, and then you can browse through thousands of different experiences. And best of all, there is no expiration date, so you don't have to feel pressure to choose something right away. See, Tingly lets me pick a fun, creative gift for the person I love, and I hope they also create a lasting memory for you guys. If you use my code CRUSH, you'll get 20% off the gift box or an e-voucher, and it's a great way to create a story that you'll be remembering forever. The link is down below. And then we meet up with Thaddeus, Maximus, and the ghoul. Thaddeus is trying to bond with his brother in ghoul arms.
Just a couple of ghouls. Am I right?
Now, it's interesting that they're walking in NCR territory wearing Brotherhood clothing. In the games, if you wear a faction's clothing, you are disguised and treated like a member of that faction. However, in this scene, there probably aren't any NCR members left to notice their clothes. Thaddeus mentions how hard it is to pilot power armor. Now, we did see this earlier in the season, but Thaddeus might be alone in this problem since Max is a natural at piloting power armor. The ghoul says they need to kit up, which has been an ongoing mission this season. He needed gear before taking on the Legionnaires, and Lucy obtained the Power Fist as a means to fight the Deathclaw. Now, this is an homage to Fallout gameplay since players are expected to grind and explore to avoid being underleveled. We said Lucy and the ghoul needed more XP in their fight against the Deathclaw during the episode 5 breakdown. So the ghoul figures that Max has the relic. When Max says,
This is for Lucy. She's a good person. She'll do the right thing with it.
the ghoul smiles and doesn't say anything. His lack of response here is important. We find out at the end of the episode that he used to think the same way. He could have argued with Max here, but I think his smile tells us that he agrees. Lucy is the good person he was looking for all those years ago, which has a level of irony to it. Remember, Lucy's life and upbringing are the result of the bombings. Cooper finally met that good person he was looking for, but she's good because of the environment that Vault-Tec raised her in. So we cut to the flashback from episode 6. We learn that Steph was at the Lucky 38, so she got her Vault-Tec job through this night. I have to commend how this show uses its flashbacks. Since this is the Steph-centric episode, we couldn't see this part of the flashback earlier in the season. It needed to be a connecting reveal here. Cooper tells her to talk to Hank about a Vault-Tec job. So now we know that Steph and Hank knew each other before entering Bud's Buds. Cooper meets Diane in the pre-war Atomic Wrangler, which is so jarring to see in this time period. The layout is the same, and the animal mounts are in the same position overseeing the bar. When Cooper says,
I know you're a good person.
To Diane, it mirrors his conversation with Max in the present. He also asks,
Why can't good people like you just learn to sell it better?
which is pretty harsh. Cooper wants a good person to sell the cause, but it's really a moot point that we'll talk about later. It reflects how he already sees himself as a bad person. He took the Vault-Tec promotion money. He looked the other way while Vault-Tec was doing shady things. And despite being a cowboy actor, he refuses to be the face of the revolution. The two of them hatched this plan to deliver the Cold Fusion relic to the president. However, neither of them asked the crucial question: why did the president just land in Las Vegas? Back in episode 5, he was not mentioned in the ad for this peace summit, so if he was invited by Vault-Tec or one of the other 5 companies, that should immediately tell us what Cooper and Diane are doing is going to fail. Diane mentions that the president landed in Camp McCarran, which is used as an NCR base after the war. We actually saw this base in episode 4's end credits. Diane says,
Give him the diode, and we can put an end to 25 years of resource wars.
the resource war started in 2052, so if we go 25 years later, 2077, this is the year when the world ends, possibly due to Coop's decisions. When Diane says she'd
Give it away to the public.
it's reiterating what Moldaver said she planned to do with it, but in a more violent means to the end. Continuing the narrative about good people, the trio in the present loot an abandoned NCR bunker. Thaddeus shows off his weird flesh parasite thing on his chest, which doesn't seem to be normal for ghoulification. At this point, we were thinking that Thaddeus might be an FEV mutant or something else entirely. The prevailing fan theory is that he's turning into a centaur, not the half-horse ones, but a Fallout centaur, which disgusting doesn't even begin to describe them. Thaddeus could also become a new mutation that we haven't seen before. In the games, there's an FEV mutant named Harold that looked to be a ghoul, but began to grow a tree which took root. He named the tree Bob, which is a pretty good name for a tree.
I am Bob.
So Thad then picks up an M1 Garand, and Max picks up a gun similar to Thump Thump from Fallout New Vegas. The ghoul grabs a Gauss rifle, which is an upgraded Fallout 4 weapon. He mentions they have to make moves like Mr. House. How do you think the house always wins?
He rigged the game.
When Max sees the NCR power armor, a swell of triumphant NCR music plays. This suit is a big deal for Max. He's only seen Brotherhood of Steel armor, so a different variant is unheard of for him. The helmet also resembles an NCR Ranger's mask. He wipes the webs off the NCR logo, paralleling episode 3 when Max was cleaning his armor and shining the Brotherhood of Steel logo. Max says,
You always end up back where you started.
Which has so many layers to it. Max and the ghoul are literally back where they started. Max has power armor again, and the ghoul has cold fusion, which Cooper's handoff started the apocalypse. They're achieving this in NCR territory, which is just like Shady Sands where Max was born. So the NCR power armor is the sum of his entire journey up to this point. Ronnie and the other Vault 31 guys are debating what to do with Norm. Ronnie plays up their importance by saying,
Wait, I'm actually pretty sure that the Vault-Tec handbook says that impersonating management is punishable by death.
Which is bullshit, but the other guys just accept it. We've seen all season how gullible Bud's buds are. In Vault 32, Chet asks Steph about Woody, but Chet finds his glasses in the garbage disposal. This feels mighty convenient, like did Steph keep the glasses as a trophy? But if it was in the garbage disposal, why didn't she just leave the glasses wherever she dumped Woody's body? And with our last vault, Vault 33, we see the hallways emptied as the song Forever Blowing Bubbles by Vera Lynn plays. Now Betty has outlawed showers and flushing to conserve water, so it probably stinks down there, hence why everybody is quarantined in their rooms. Now, Betty is doing her best to conserve resources, but it's costing everyone their humanity. Being forced to remain unclean is a method of torture. So she caves and decides to give Steph what she wants. She finds Hank's keepsake box in the safe since this used to be his office. Now when she grabs the box, we see this painting to the side. This is a painting in Fallout 4, which is a parody of Napoleon crossing the Alps, but with the face of game director Todd Howard. The ghoul, Maximus, and Thaddeus walk through Freeside, ready to take on the Deathclaws. The citizens believe that they are gallant heroes, here to save the city. No one knows that their true intentions are selfish, which ties back to the episode's theme of searching for heroes. Here, the people of Freeside believe that they have found their saviors, but their problems are just obstacles for their so-called heroes. The ghoul says,
Never underestimate the power of brand recognition.
Which is hilarious. He's talking about the NCR symbol on the power armor, but these are definitely words that Amazon lives by, especially in their shows. The power armor is marked 07, which could be a slight nod to 07, a slang for gamers that looks like a little salute. Now there's a great full circle moment when Max sees a kid smiling up at him. It echoes the moment that Max was saved by the Brotherhood in Shady Sands. In both scenarios, a beacon of hope and metal saves the child. Let's just hope that Max doesn't turn out like Quintus. And speaking of the Brotherhood, one of the residents tips his hat to Max, which has gotta feel good. The bow is a nod to how the Brotherhood ran on a system of knights. As they get ready to charge, Thaddeus's arm falls off, which forces him to sit out the action again. Poor him. Checking back with Lucy, she's now in the yellow dress that her dad picked out earlier, so this symbolizes that she is buying into Hank's fantasy. When Lucy leaves, we see that she was also kept in Observation Room 07.
Coincidence? I think not!
It might be a coincidence, or maybe the set designers were looking for a way to tie Max and Lucy together. They do have sort of a budding romance that we might see more of in Season 3. She passes by the Global Comms Room, which parallels the shot of Hank entering the Global Comms Room in Episode 1 this season. Now, while the father and daughter have dinner, Hank tries to manipulate Lucy again by having the NCR trooper serve them. However, Lucy uses this opportunity to test the effects of her dad's machine. When Hank disparages the NCR, this is Lucy's wake-up call, which is perfectly illustrated by her next line.
One side is murdering people, enslaving them, and the other side is just vaguely problematic.
She also says,
Thanks to you, I'm not a fudging idiot.
So these two lines tell us the difference between Lucy and her father. Remember, in Episode 4, Lucy questioned the NCR's motives.
All I saw in there was more matching jackets.
But she's witnessed firsthand how terrible the Legion is. Her experience with both groups lets her pick out a clear distinction from them. Hank just assumed their worst qualities meant that both factions were equally bad. At the Vault 32 wedding, Chet stands up to Steph. So we're seeing both of our vaults start to stand up to Bud's buds. This has a running theme of rebellion being a universal trait, which ties back to Cooper's conversation with Diane in the past. Reg stood up to Betty last episode, and now Chet is standing up to Steph. Neither of these vault dwellers needed to be good people or heroes to take a stand. They just needed to be done with the way the overseers were handling things. And this is where Chet reveals to Vault 32 that Steph is Canadian.
What was I hiding?
that you were born in Canada.
When the jig is up, Steph runs away. Her running through the hallway is intercut with her running in the forest from the beginning of the episode, which symbolizes how she's never really stopped running. Everything she's done for the past 200 years is part of some kind of revenge plot against Americans. Someone who's been on the run for this long will always be on alert, will always have to check behind her back, and will always need to sleep with one eye open, which ties back to her waking up at the beginning of the episode. Now it's time for the Deathclaw fight. We open on a Deathclaw peacefully munching on another Deathclaw to emphasize how monstrous and animalistic these beasts are. The ghoul says the strategy is,
I want you to get between me and anything that looks like that.
and he says this with his typical cowboy bravado, but we know the real reason why that's the strategy. In a moment, when the Deathclaw turns on him, the ghoul shows genuine fear again. Cooper is still terrified of these things from his time in Alaska. The music stings, and the camera shots emulate a cowboy duel at high noon. We get this shot of the claw at the Deathclaw's hip, like it's going to reach for a gun. And then, as the camera focuses on Max, the Western cowboy music is accented by the Brotherhood of Steel theme. Now, even though Max isn't with the Brotherhood anymore, this theme played a lot this season whenever they're focused on heavy machinery that was associated with the Brotherhood. Now, as Cooper enters Lucky 38, we get another flashback to the night of the handoff. Barb says,
The only way to save our family is to save the world.
and she's right on multiple levels. It looks like Barb helping Cooper get the relic has fixed their marriage a little. Remember, Cooper was calling her a monster just a few episodes ago. The same is true for the present timeline when the ghoul needed to save the world from Hank's plans in order to find his family. Now, PNST on our Discord pointed out that the song here is Ballada de la Trompeta by Raphael. It plays during the big reveal as Cooper goes through with the handoff. The vocals and the trumpet play these staccato notes that sound like the music is laughing at the situation. Remember, the ghoul said in episode 2 that he was just like Lucy before the bombs.
I was just like you. Stupid.
When he hands the relic to the President of the United States, we see that he's played by Clancy Brown, a legendary actor who's probably best known as his role as Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob.
He played Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob?
He also played a Brotherhood of Steel NPC named Rhombus in the first Fallout game. Now, in the games, the President of the USA is the leader of the Enclave. More than 6 months before the bombs dropped, he vanished from office.
The White House had no comment about the President's whereabouts.
Which would explain how the Enclave had it in the first place. The lesson here is that being a good person didn't matter in the end. The handoff is intercut with Lucy discovering the mainframe and the ghoul giving Mr. House the relic. On the desk, we see a Hoover Dam snow globe, which is a collectible item in Fallout New Vegas. As Mr. House becomes his iconic computer look from the games, Lucy finds out that the mainframe is the severed head of Diane Welsh. The head is wearing a helmet with wires coming out of it, similar to the helmet that Mr. House wore in the past. So it looks like the President betrayed Diane and gave her over to Vault-Tec to experiment with. Remember, Barb wanted to find out what Mr. House's plans were in episode 6, so these scenes being intercut together make me believe that Vault-Tec was trying to replicate Mr. House's intelligence and they used Diane as a guinea pig. The ending song is Wang Dang Taffy Apple Tango by Pat Boone, very Fallout reference heavy in name alone. There is a side quest in Fallout New Vegas called Wang Dang Atomic Tango and a major character called Boone. Now the end credits show multiple signs indicating annexed Canada, with horrible fates issued to the Mounties. There are broken T-51 power armor, and guys, that's all of episode 7. On to episode 8, the finale of Fallout Season 2. Episode 8 opens on the Legion's ongoing civil war. Now, the ghouls started this fight all the way back in episode 3. We follow Macaulay Culkin's character, Lacerda Legate. He drags the original Kaiser's body into a tent and finds out that the next Kaiser is nobody.
I hope you're hungry. For nothing.
The Legion was split over the will of the original Kaiser, and his will reads, I am Caesar, I am Legion, it ends with me. So this reveal reinforces Hank's hatred of the surface. He said last episode that the wasteland fights over nothing, and in this case, he was right. The Legion was at war with itself over an air that didn't exist. This also echoes a sentiment that Mr. House and Joshua Graham mentioned in Fallout New Vegas.
Given a year, they'd have him deified, but by then, the Legion will be breaking down.
I think only Caesar can lead the Legion. The Legion dies with Caesar.
Lacerda eats the paper and then stabs the only witness. He then puts on the wreath, symbolizing his victory and ascension to power. He rallies the Legion to invade New Vegas and build a palace in their glory.
There, we'll build a palace, Kaiser's palace.
A reference to the actual Caesar's palace in Las Vegas. Nice. The Fallout logo appears over a Pip-Boy, referencing the two important Pip-Boys of this episode. There's the Pip-Boy that Mr. House gives the ghoul, and the Pip-Boy in Hank's keepsake box that lets Steph contact the Enclave. We pick up at the Lucky 38, where the ghoul and Mr. House share their 200-year reunion. Mr. House doesn't seem fazed by Cooper's ghoulish features at all, which makes sense since this meeting was calculated by Mr. House centuries ago. He confirms this when Cooper asks about his family, and Mr. House replies,
"Because you hadn't yet brought me the dial."
The timing of the diode return is similar to the retrieval of the Platinum chip by the courier in Fallout New Vegas. House mentions,
"When it came to predicting the end of the world, I was off by just a smidge."
Both the diode and Platinum chip were delivered to Mr. House after he expected them to arrive, which changed his plans for himself in the aftermath of the war. Looking to the right of House's TV, we see the map here is one not even pre-war, but from the late 1960s, before the Commonwealths were created. Mr. House says,
"Like it or not, Mr. Howard, everyone works for me eventually,"
as he gives the ghoul to Pip-Boy. Now this line could foreshadow Mr. House's endgame plans, since the season ends with Lucy and Max in his tower. Back with Maximus, he protects Freeside to the tune of "It's a Good Day" by Perry Como. As the citizens run off to hide, his suit says,
"Weapons activated."
To which he replies,
"Hot dog."
Calling back to Xander from episode 3. Max gets his Iron Man moment. But in the next scene, the suit quickly runs out of rockets, probably because the show couldn't afford for him to actually fly around. Next is Lucy's confrontation with Diane Welch, or what's left of her. We should have seen this reveal coming, since the Congresswoman's last name, Welch, means to go back on a promise. Welching the bet is a gambling term for refusing to pay, which fits the Vegas backdrop of the season. Her disembodied head looks similar to the head of John Caleb Bradburton, inventor of Nuka-Cola from Fallout 4. He was part of the secret program Leap X, aimed for prolonging life expectancy. Due to the restrictions of the life-preserving process, he could only preserve his head and has wanted to die ever since.
"I want you to shut off the power to this machine that's keeping me alive. I want to die."
Lucy tries to unplug the machine, but the head comes to life, which is, ooh, God, okay, all right, enough. Diane begs for Lucy to kill her. She fulfills her wishes reluctantly, saying,
"Why does everybody always want me to kill them all the time?"
Lucy doesn't really want to get her hands dirty, even though it's a mercy killing. The running storyline of how the wasteland affected her will be important in the next scene. Now back with Bud's Buds, they are dragging Norm out for a fair trial. Now these gullible drones putting their leader on trial feels like a parallel to Caesar's actual betrayal. They even march behind Ronnie like soldiers. The whole sequence is pure karma for Ronnie. When he says,
"You're not one of us either, Claudia,"
it illustrates the mob mentality and clickiness of these managers. This is the same kind of thinking that we saw with Reg's support group in episode 6, and later in this episode when Vault 32 revolted against Steph. Ronnie throws Claudia into the elevator buttons, which indirectly opens the door for rad roaches to feast on them. It's important that Norm stop to save one of the 31ers. This is another reminder that he is a good person, at least by wasteland standards. He was raised in a vault, a product of violence, but he still helps others even when this guy was out to try and kill him. The 31ers being killed by the rad roaches is pretty pathetic. In the Fallout games, rad roaches are low-tier enemies, literal fodder for the player to kill. They can be dangerous in groups, but they die in one shot. This exemplifies how Bud's Buds might have postured like they knew what they were doing, but they didn't even arm themselves with good weaponry. They came out of the vaults with barely any plans, like noobs to the wasteland. As Mr. House and Cooper talk about the secret player behind all the schemes, House mentions,
"Until I saw your demon in the snow,"
which cuts back to Max's fight. The people of Freeside start taking bets on Max's fight, to which Thaddeus bets 500 caps that he'll win. Now remember, he was leading a caps factory at the beginning of episode 3. His bet applies to the conversation that he and Max had in episode 6.
But if we sell it, guess what? Then we'll be rich. And then we'll have the means to be one of those good people you're talking about.
Thaddeus's goal here is to still become rich, but he's achieving that goal by placing his faith in his friend. He's actually trying to become rich by being a good person instead of being a good person after he becomes rich. Checking in on Lucy, she is not doing well. She feels immense guilt for killing Diane, even though she was putting someone out of their misery. When her dad approaches, he contradicts himself again. Hank reveals that Welch was an ISTP personality on the Myers-Briggs scale. Now it's interesting that the Myers-Briggs scale is still canon to this universe. He explains that Mr. House wants humans to be more like robots, but Hank would rather add a bit of personality to that idea. So he chose ISTP as his golden standard since it was pleasant and non-confrontational. However, if everyone acts the same way, programmed with the same personality, isn't that just a convoluted way of making everybody into a robot? These are the kinds of contradictions that made Hank such an interesting character. He's smart enough to program the automated men and operate the machines, but he's dumb enough to believe that Steph would marry him after barely a few hours of conversation. Steph knows about the Enclave in the present time, so Hank was either way too trusting with his information, or he didn't mind having an accomplice in his allegiance to the Enclave. Now, considering the Enclave is an American faction, basically the shadow government, Steph probably isn't trying to ally herself with them, but plans to continue to be amongst top dogs. As we cut to another flashback, the song playing is I've Got You Under My Skin by Frank Sinatra. Now, the meaning of this song is twofold in the context of the episode. First, the flashback sees Cooper and Barb rekindling their relationship further. Nothing brings a couple back together like saving the world for the sake of their daughter. Second, Hank is about to drill an automated man device under Lucy's skin. During the flashback, Cooper says,
"After all this, I say we go out as far as Colorado."
Which plays into their plan later. Barb says,
"Am I crazy? Did we just come out of Vegas a couple of winners?"
Now, she's joking as if they won at the casinos, but really they won by stopping a war. However, Cooper immediately has doubts, which are amplified by the two posters with Coop and Bobby Apartment saying, "You never know" on them.
Bobby, do you say right now?
You know, Bobby Apartment, the fake Robert House.
Oh, I see. Hilarious!
Now, Mr. House doesn't take credit for Cooper's arrest, but we know in the future he gets the diode anyways. So the only answer to what Barb said is,
"The house always wins."
In the present, the ghoul saved Lucy from getting her mind erased. He gives her a cowboy's thank you, just like he gave Max last episode. Then he leaves her a gun and the fate of her father's life in her own hands. Notice Lucy holds the gun with her fake finger. This is the finger that got reattached in season 1 but looks gray, which symbolically represents how the wasteland has physically and mentally changed her. The Lucy of old would have never considered shooting her father, but she gives it a thought here. As Max closes his eyes, we can see an accurate armor damage readout to the side of this window. Accepting his fate, he remembers his dad saying,
"And one day you will be a good man."
Which inspires him to keep trying. This really is the end of Max's arc. He started episode 7 looking for Lucy because he believed a good person should have the cold fusion relic. But his last stand against the Death Claws proves that he was the good person all along. Max picks up a pull cue, which are actual weapons of the games, but they do very little damage. He also holds a roulette wheel like a shield, so he stanced up like a real knight. Now, when he was with the Brotherhood, he learned that there can be both honorable and dishonorable knights. Here, he embodies a knight even without power armor. But lo and behold, the NCR has come to the rescue. This ranger is shooting from an anti-material rifle in a literal rip from the Fallout New Vegas game opening. Leading the troop is the same soldier that Lucy and the Ghoul met earlier in the season. Remember, they were spread out due to the Legion, but because of the Ghoul, she managed to send out a call and gather the remaining members. Now, the NCR troops have to be nostalgic for Max. Remember, in Shady Sands, he would watch the Rangers march through the town square in the same gear, just like when he said to the Ghoul,
"Back where you started."
As Max and the NCR reunite, Lucy and Hank say their final goodbyes. Hank reminisces about the people back at the vault. Now, when he mentions Steph, there's this look of yikes on his face. This might be because he realizes that Steph knows about the Enclave. He's realizing he trusted her with a little bit too much information. Now, when Lucy says,
"Yes, the surface changes a person,"
this is in direct response to Hank saying that he was glad the wasteland didn't change her in episode 7.
For a second there, I thought the wasteland had changed you.
Hank says,
I've already sent my R&D out into the wasteland. Unbeknownst to everyone, they're following orders written for them centuries ago.
So I wonder if he's referring to other automated men, or does he mean orders in the same way Mr. House does? I mean, Mr. House was literally predicting casino outcomes for the future of Las Vegas. Perhaps the Enclave set this up way before and has always been a step ahead. Hank uses a dial to give himself amnesia. He does this to effectively mind wipe himself so he won't give any more information to Lucy about the Enclave. Despite knowing the atrocities her father committed, Lucy still mourns him. The new Hank wipes her tears and says,
"Good as new,"
symbolizing the clean slate that he's given himself. As Lucy feels the most lost, that's when Maximus shows up to comfort her. This is the reunion we've been waiting for all season long. A whole 38 minutes into the episode, we finally check back in with Steph in Vault 32. So this finale is just a ton of Chekhov's guns. Chet smiles as the angry mob slams on Steph's door. The other Vault dwellers yell,
"Death to management! Death to management!"
which scares Chet. On our Discord, Iceman117 pointed out that a Vault Dweller revolt was the fate of the old Vault 32ers. In Season 1, Episode 4, Death to Management can be seen spray-painted on the walls behind Norm, so Chet is seeing the cycle play out again. So, without any other options, Steph opens the keepsake box to reveal an Enclave Pip-Boy. She activates Phase 2, which was referenced a few times this season. My question is, how does this save Steph from the revolting Vault 32? Is she just doing this now since she might not get out of this alive, or will the Enclave begin to spread the FEV? Norm learned the FEV, or Forced Evolutionary Virus, was implanted into Vaults 32 and 33, so maybe the Enclave is about to remotely activate the weapon. As Phase 2 activates, we hear the interlaying radio frequencies from this season. First is Steph's activation message. Then we hear Hank's Episode 1 monologue, followed by Norm's cries for help.
This is Hank McClane, reporting for duty, sir. Nobody in Vault Tech knows I'm here.
This is Norm McClane from Vault 33. Dad, if you can hear me.
This implies that the Enclave has been listening and watching everything.
I'm watching you, Wazowski.
They were the secret investors mentioned throughout the season, and they know that Norm is out there. Considering Hank was somewhat important to their operation, they could oppose Norm in Season 3. The Enclave lab resembles a train station. Here we see an iBot, a multi-purpose robot that can be used for delivering messages and surveillance. Norm rescues Claudia from the Vault Tech room, and the two of them set out into the wasteland. The Ghoul and Mr. House reach the cryo chambers. Now they're usually clear and slightly blue in the games, but they made the chambers opaque here for the big reveal. And this is where the Ghoul learns that Barb and Janie aren't in Vegas. Mr. House says,
"You're still living in a world of fiction, a world that isn't real."
In order to taunt the Ghoul. He's taking a jab at his career as an actor. However, the Ghoul shoots back with,
"You're wrong about that."
Which is when we learn that Cooper and Barb formed a plan in the past. This entire time, we have been operating under the assumption that Cooper and Barb hated each other. But this last flashback and the postcard tell us that they had a plan. The postcard reads, "Colorado was a good idea." Remember, earlier he said,
"After all this, I say we go out as far as Colorado."
Now the Enclave has evidence of him taking the diode and delivering it right into their hands, which could explain why he's doing birthday parties later in the year and no longer hired as an actor. With new hope that his family is alive, the Ghoul leaves Mr. House's Pip-Boy on the floor. Mr. House tries to warn him about the Enclave, but he doesn't answer the call. Even so, the Enclave probably have plans for Cooper Howard if they're one step ahead of Mr. House. Max and Lucy see the Legion from atop Lucky 38, when Lucy says,
"It's all my fault."
And Max replies with,
"Welcome to the wasteland."
It's almost like he's comparing Lucy to the player character from the games. The consequences of each game and their side quests were always the result of the player's character's choices, so Lucy embodies that here for the TV show. Mr. House seems to be hiding from Max and Lucy. We see his screen glitch while the two of them look outside. Now this could tie in to what he said earlier.
Everyone works for me eventually.
Mr. House might be puppeteering the war in Vegas to amass power and cause chaos. When people suffer under chaos, they'll turn to order, control, and automation. Maybe this is how he gets his army of robots under the influence of the automated man. Now, when the credits play, we hear "This is Worth Fighting For" by the Ink Spots. Here we see multiple NCR propaganda posters from the new Vegas game. This Women of NCR poster message will especially be emphasized in the next season due to the Legion's rampant sexism. The NCR is defending Freeside with the Legion right outside. House is still awake, so it's like the main factions of Fallout New Vegas are all up in the air again. Cooper treks out with dog meat to find Barb. Now this is a nod to A Man and His Dog, Cooper's movie from the past. Now, in the future, his pretend roles have become a reality. This billboard indicates the next location for Season 3, the Rockies. The Ghoul is heading to Colorado to find Barb and Janie. The Colorado and Rockies area are pretty much only heavily mentioned in Fallout Tactics: Brotherhood of Steel. During a campaign, the player character is inducted into the Brotherhood and learns that they plan to find Vault Zero, the once command center of the pre-war Vault network. This is where the top government, scientific, and military leaders lived alongside the most advanced technology. In the post-credit scene, Quintus deems himself the Destroyer and gains blueprints for a robot named Liberty Prime Alpha. Liberty Prime was a combat robot the size of a building that shoots lasers and throws nukes like the same bomb that destroyed Shady Sands. It was known as pre-war tech and rebuilt in DC in Fallout 3, but then damaged fighting the Enclave. It was then rebuilt in Boston in Fallout 4. Now it's back for round 2 with the Knights of San Fernando. Alright, so let's get into our theories for Season 3. Starting with Max and Lucy, they are bona fide wasteland folk now. They will most likely assist the NCR in the coming war, since Max hails from Shady Sands and Lucy wants to help the good guys, or in this case, the good side compared to the Legion. Lucy could have stopped the Legion the easy way with her dad's method, but instead, she's conquering it with Max, a true friend who believes in her. Their efforts might be manipulated by Mr. House. He's online, but remaining in the shadows for now. The outcome of the war might affect his calculations. Hank believes that Mr. House wants to create robots, so maybe he's amassing power while the other factions whittle each other down. Mr. House could take a more active role if somebody finds his Pip-Boy, and I think the best candidate for this would be the newly mind-wiped Hank McClain. Assuming he isn't lobotomized or brain dead, Hank's blank slate personality would be the perfect test subject for Mr. House. Now that Lucy isn't the naive vault dweller she was at the start of the show, Hank could fill that role as a hopelessly innocent soul wandering the wasteland with a nefarious character like Mr. House. No matter what happens, the Enclave will sure be the next major antagonist of the next season. They seem to be involved with the mutant war that's brewing. In our first look at the Enclave in Season 1, they were carting around mutants to be experimented on. Then, in Season 2, Episode 6, the ghoul is revived by a super mutant talking about war. He could be an escaped test subject from the Enclave, trying to recruit ghouls and mutants to overthrow the Shadow government. We know the Enclave also intercepts radio frequencies, which could interfere with the Brotherhood's plans or tip them off to where Norm is going. Now, Norm and Claudia can really get up to anything next season, but there are two ideas that might tie all of the characters and factions together. Norm is probably worried for his vault, so he could go back to Vault 33 and try to warn or rescue everyone. Alternatively, Claudia informed him about Barb, so he could try to find out more about Vault Tech. It'd be hilarious if the ghoul ran into another McClain on his way to Colorado. Meanwhile, Quintus the Destroyer is busy building Liberty Prime Alpha. In Fallout New Vegas, the Brotherhood of Steel was a faction who didn't have the numbers to hold power or the Hoover Dam. With Liberty Prime Alpha, he has the means to conquer the chapters that are in disarray. Earlier in the season, he was planning on combining the chapters to take over the Commonwealth. Considering this robot has the additional term Alpha, perhaps he plans to use this one to combat the Commonwealth's version. He could overtake the Commonwealth and head to Vegas using the power armor tracker that Hank left behind to seize New Vegas along with the rest of the major factions. And guys, don't forget to get our exclusive deal through Tingly. Use the code CRUSH for 20% off all experiences and hotel gift boxes at tingly.com/ScreenCrush. That's TINGGLY.com/ScreenCrush. Links are below. So guys, that's everything we caught in the finale of Fallout Season 2. Thank you so much for watching our Season 2 coverage, and we cannot wait for Season 3. Huge shout out to Ethan Ng and Srinidhi Rao who wrote this series of videos. They did a great job. You can find their social links below, or you can talk to them on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.